Personally, I think The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, could have been a way better movie than The Lion King original one.
I said what I said. Okay, well, what you say?
And here come the bullets. That's what in my life at this very moment.
Let's try that again, shall we?
I mean, hear me out. Hear me out, guys. Hear me out. No doubt that The Lion King is a cult classic, one of the most beloved Disney films of all time. I am not debunking that. Okay, I love The Lion King. It was the very first movie that got me into Disney in the first place. If you would ask my parents, I was so obsessed with that movie. I would rewind it over and over again, so much to the point that I end up ruining my VHS set with the film coming out of it and destroying it. So much to the point that I begged them to buy me another one because I would not accept the fact that this VHS was ruined. I need another one. And even though it was my fault it broke in the first place for abusing it constantly at the VCR like I was a mad woman. Because I wanted to replay the songs and just a certain type of dialogue I wanted to see again, or an action sequence, you name it. I was that obsessed. But then The Lion King 2 came out in 1997. And I watched that movie just as much as I did The Lion King. Now, I didn't abuse it as much as The Lion King, but I did thoroughly enjoy it, and thus it became my favorite Disney sequel of all time. Now, with that being said, it's a controversial statement that what I'm finna make in this video may not resonate with a lot of people. I might get hate for it, so be it. But again, opinions are like assholes, doesn't mean that you have to be one. So just hear me out on why I think The Lion King 2 had at least almost upscale the first original Lion King. And I think my points are gonna be valid. But then I'm gonna also say this. I still don't think it holds that much of a candle. Because even though I feel in aspects that this movie could have been way better than The Lion King originally, I feel it still has some flaws that need to be tweaked in order for that to be the case. But I would say it's close to being better than the first one. Just hear me out, people, okay? Why I think The Lion King 2 Simba's Pride it actually could be a better sequel than the original Lion King. Now don't get me wrong, like I said, the first movie is an all-time classic, but the sequel has some elements and weight that in my opinion make it stand out even more. Let's dive in. One thing I love about the Simba's Pride movie is how it tackles more complex themes. While the first movie is about a personal growth and responsibility that is very well written when it comes to the young Simba trying to identify who he is after the death of his father, who was the rightful king. Now he has to go and take his spot as the rightful king, even though his uncle manipulated and killed his father unknowns to him, and basically runs the kingdom to Dustland. The sequel explores way deeper issues like prejudice, redemption, and also unity. And the fact that I do respect that these movies dived into the Shakespeare world, where we had the first one based off Hamlet, the sequel is loosely based off Romeo and Juliet, and we'll dive into that sometime later. Simba, now the king and the father of a beautiful young daughter named Kiara. He struggles with his past trauma. This is the arc of Simba's character throughout this movie, which I do love. Again, he has another arc to deal with. It's him responsibility as the king at this point, running the kingdom, having a rebellious daughter, and also fighting demons from his past, learning how to trust again and come in terms of accepting people outside his kingdom. Again, with his trauma between Scar's betrayal in the past. He's very overprotective of Kiara and refuses to trust Kovo, who is the young lion male that is from the outsiders, rebellious leader and mean-ass lioness, Zira. He refuses to trust Kovo because he was raised by Zira and the Outlanders. It's a powerful message about learning to let go and let go of fear and embracing change. And realizing that some people, just because they are brought up a certain way, doesn't mean that they are who that person you think they are. And then there's Koval, a character raised to be Scar's successor, but who chooses his own path to be his own individual. And that also because of what happens between him and Kiara. That influence is what made him understand that he is not who his mother or what Scar wanted him to be when he was coming up. And his journey from being a pawn in Zero's revenge plot, and then to be in the midst of being hated by Simba, who he tries to be in good graces with and try to help him understand that he's not who he think he is. It's a complex situation, scenario, dilemma that Koval is stuck between, and it's very heartbreaking. You sympathize with his character in that aspect. And it's just for him standing up for what's right, and it adds so much emotional weight to the story.
And in doing so, you betrayed your pride. Betrayed Scar! I want nothing more to do with him! You cannot escape it.
This has a very compelling story to it that I feel is far more better than what the first movie had to offer, which was really good storytelling as far as what Simba's going through, but it also, for this movie, it has multiple characters going through a character development on each and every one of them who are the main focus. Except for one, Zira is very straightforward. She has hate from beginning to end, but more so the main characters, Simba, Kiara, and Koval, goes through a whole character arc change, and it's so amazingly done, y'all. And then, as I stated in my previous video, if you haven't checked it already, why I think Zero is more of a compelling villain than Scar was. Again, controversial topic. A lot of people disagree, and I respect that. Respectfully, I do. I think I still feel so, as because Zero intense moments, her confrontation with Simba, and that song My Lullaby is very demonic. I mean, she really hates Simba to the core. She hates his pride, not just for kicking them out of the kingdom, but for the fact that he took over a kingdom that she felt her son deserved to rule, under the fact that she respected Scar so much that she felt that nobody else was able to become king besides Koval. And she fights to have Koval overthrow Simba so he could become the quote-unquote rightful king.
Hand chosen by Scar to follow in his paw prints and become king.
She tried to make a monster and try to shape Koval to be just like how Scar was, but then find out in the hard way that's not going to be the case. And then I just think that Zira, in my opinion, is just more scarier villain than Scar. He has no remorse, and she's like more evil because she does plan, but it's kind of like she's more of a I'm gonna get to it type of person. I'm not gonna wait and do none of this stuff. We're gonna attack full force. You see, she ended up ambushing Simba out of nowhere. That was like ruthless as hell. He almost barely escaped that. He almost died during their last battle with each other. If it wasn't for Kiara and Koval stepping in to save the day, I really think Zero would have ended Simba. Unless Nala stepped in.
Nala.
But I'm just saying, I'm gonna get to that flaw later too with Nala character that I feel is disappointing. Anyways, while Scar was a manipulative and power-hungry villain eager to get that urge to just run shit his way, Zira is just driven by sheer loyalty to him and thirst for vengeance. She's just not a seeking power. She's fueled by an emotional rage that makes her even more dangerous. That she just doesn't accept the fact that Simba is who he became to be. So she wants to get rid of him by all means, no questions asked. Do whatever it takes to overthrow Simba and his pride. Now, her song My Lullaby is basically a war anthem, and just like how Be Prepared was for Scar, this is her war anthem for what she plans to do with Koval and basically what she wants Simba's empire to crumble, threaten to kill his daughter and squeeze her. I'm like, what is going on with these lyrics, bro? This is the most darkest, sinister shit I've heard in a Disney movie. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Unlike Scar, who lets others do his dirty work, Zero is actively leading the charge. And honestly, that makes her terrifying. And then we got the strong romance and character development between our two main protagonists, and who is basically Romeo and Juliet in the situation. And we have Kiara and Koval's relationship and their interactions, especially when they first meet. These two are very naive, very adventurous, and kind of the same. Kiara is very fearless. She's been fearless ever since she was young. She's been always curious on things outside of her kingdom.
Whoa. Cool. Out there. Wonder what's out there. I wonder if its brains are still in there. Whoa.
She doesn't like the normal, oh, I'm a princess, so therefore I have to abide to the princess duties to become one day queen and all this type of stuff. She is so above that.
Did you say something, princess?
I'm not just a princess, you know. That's only half of who I am.
She wants to do her own thing and be her own individual. This whole entire thing between her and Koval, you can tell they are so similar because they want their own individuality away from what their parents expect them to be. That is the key element between both of these characters and why they feel confident of each other when they meet and when they grow to love each other. It's because they have similarities. They have two parents that are at war with each other and they expect different paths for their kids. Simba wants Kiara to be the princess that she's supposed to be, to grow up to be one day queen and take responsibility as that role. And then you got Zira, who wants to train Koval as a killer and be just like Scar before he died. And their influences make them become that way. You know what I'm saying? And especially during the Love Will Find a Way sequence, which to me is a so much way better love story than Nala and Simba's in the original Lion King. Let me just put it out there. I love Can You Feel the Love Tonight. It's one of my favorite Disney songs of all time. You're not taking that away from me, and I'm not taking that away from nobody at all. It's definitely a classic, and it's gonna stay a classic, and it's one of the best love songs in Disney history. I'm just saying, I think Love Will Find a Way is potentially a little bit better because it's more emotional and personal. It might matter. I feel it's really beautifully sung by two singers who does an amazing job, and they kill it, you know what I'm saying? So I really love the segment. Take fond of what's going on between Kiara and Koval. You want them to win throughout the movie because they're separated and divided by their families. Kiara cannot, be around Koval because her father is so prejudiced against him because he feels that this is just another Scar that's going to overthrow him because he knows how Zira is. He knows that she is no good and therefore her son is no better, and thinks that because he is the higher of Scar throne that he's going to overthrow him, which he should rightfully been scared of because had it not been for Kiara's influence on Koval, I'm sure Koval would have did what his mother wanted him to do and kill Simba if it came down to be. He had a lot of opportunities to do so, but because Kiara interrupted him when he had Simba at a very good range where he could have took him out if he wanted to, she stopped that and found him somehow before that could even happen. And so they start hanging out with each other and they just growing closer and closer. And then the second time when Simba invited Koval inside, when he was somewhat starting to trust him, he had a perfect opportunity at that moment to attack him, but he didn't. And so this felt betrayal to his mother, and that his sister ended up witnessing. Vitani, she went back to tell Zira that Koval didn't do what he's supposed to do, and this pissed her off. That Koval and Kiara's love story is more emotional than Nala and Simba's, even though it was them two meeting up for all these years. They were separate from each other. They found each other again. Nala thought that Simba was long gone dead, but come to find out he's alive. They fought for each other and they were once best friends that didn't think that marriage was even a thing. They disposed of it. But then as they got older, of course, those feelings changed for each other when they start hanging out in the forest. And yeah, fell in love that night, like the song stated. But with Kiara and Koval, it's a journey between them that you want them to win. You want them to be together because of what's all taking place around them. And again, they're trying to find their own path with not only each other, but just themselves as individually. They come from two divided worlds and they grow together to prove that love can overcome hatred. And it does work out in the favor of Simba at some point, but when it came to Zira, she's still stuck on the fact that she can't let the past go. She has to still do what she thinks is right.
This is for you, Scar.
And Kiara sees beyond Koval's past. She doesn't judge him from being the higher of Scar or for the fact that he comes from a background which is not ideal to what her father believes. And Koval challenged everything that he was taught from his mother and what he learned about Scar. And I think Love Will Find a Way is such an underrated song that really drives home their journey. With Kiara having influence on Kovo made him see that this is something for me. Now let's dive into Simba's character arc.
And stay away from the Outlands.
Nothing there but a bunch of backstabbing, murderous outsiders.
Zazu's right. You can't turn your back on them.
Really? How come?
Now let's dive into Simba's character arc. This is Simba struggling with trusting Kovo. I mean, for good reason. You see how much he went through in his past, so I can understand why Simba is the way he is at this point. You have flashbacks to Scar. Simba is a completely different character in this film. He's mean as hell and he doesn't give a fuck. In the original, he was a carefree cub turned reluctant hero. Here, he is a king burdened by his past that he just can't let go either. Just like how Zero can't let go of the past, Simba is the same way. He just can't. He is still haunted by Scar and feel because Scar influenced Zero and now her son, that he feels that her son Kovo will try to do the same shit that Scar do. So he got some type of PTSD type thing where he feel that he gonna get overthrown. So of course he's innerly struggling on how to accept the fact that Kovo is just not who he think he is. So he get this fear that he's just another Scar, period. He's terrified of history just repeating itself, which causes him to act out of fear rather than wisdom. Watching Simba slowly realize that he's letting the past control him and ultimately choosing unity over division is such a satisfying arc. His daughter basically don't want him to contradict the words that he explained to her, teaching her when she grew up.
A wise king once told me, we are one.
And honestly, seeing him grow like that, it makes him feel more human, well, lion, if you want to say, and adds a layer of depth that wasn't explored in the very first film. Again, obviously reasons.
I didn't understand him then. Now I do. But they... Them? Us. Look at them. They are us. What differences do you see?
Message!
Okay, The Lion King obviously have a legendary soundtrack, but let's not sleep on Simba's pride.
You'll see every day that we'll never turn away. When it seems all your dreams come undone.
Of Simba's dying gasp. His daughter squealing in my grasp. His lioness's mournful cry. That's my lullaby.
It means love, doesn't it?
Welcome to you, Pendy. Pendy, the way passion fruit grows sweet.
He is not one of us.
Deception is great.